Alrighty then. I thought I'd make this video. As you see the gameplay in the background, you know, just should be some fights, Goku versus Vegeta, some Raging Blast, and tenkaichi 3 for very, very important reasons, because that is what we are talking about today. Now, look, I would like to say, just so you know some things about me, that I'm probably the most unbiased when it comes to tenkaichi 3 versus Raging Blast 2. We also are including their mods. So if you're, saying, oh, the mod is better, blah blah blah, like the mod and for both Extreme Blast and Tenkaichi 4, they're both included in this as well. And it's actually very important for me to say that, because I'm gonna make some key differences and how like it works out. But anyway, we'll talk about that as we go in. I digress. Now look, I'm gonna just say some things about me first, so you know why you should listen to me and why I'm probably, like I said, the most unbiased when it comes to Raging Blast 2 and Tenkaichi 3. So I grew up with well, first I was like born in like 2004, so I grew up actually with the Budokai games, because my brother used to play them a lot. Budokai 1, Budokai 2, Budokai 3. I grew up with all of those games, sagas. I started with those games on the GameCube and PS2. My uncle, RP Unc, he gave me Tenkaichi 1. The first time I ever got it, I got Tenkaichi 1. And I was playing, the Raging Blast 2 had just came out like a year or two prior. I didn't have the type of console. I didn't have a PS3. It was at my dad's house. I had a PS2 at the time. So I couldn't get that game. My brother had an Xbox. He didn't have it. He had the demo. So I was playing Tenkaichi 1 and, Budokai and all these different games. I grew up with all of them, to put it simply. I grew up with Budokai, I grew up with Tenkaichi, I grew up with Raging Blast. I remember going back and forth, going like, I'm gonna play Tenkaichi, then I'm gonna play some Raging Blast, play Tenkaichi, I'm gonna play some Raging Blast. I was going back and forth between these games. So I spent an exceptionally amount of time with both video games. So just, just some insight on how, I know these games damn near inside out. So, to be honest with you, when Sparking Zero drops, this video is really just to tell y'all why I truthfully believe that Sparking Zero will be the better game of Raging Blast 2 and Tenkaichi 3, unless they just decide not to improve on the obvious things that they can improve between Tenkaichi 3 and Raging Blast 2. If they just don't improve on certain things, like just completely just negate it or whatever, I just don't see that being the case. Just from the gameplay we've seen, I do not see that being the case. I feel like they've improved on a lot. So let's start with my favorite, my personal favorite, you know what I mean, but of Raging Blast 2, right? Raging Blast 2 for me, right? Now, objectively, Tenkaichi 3 and Raging Blast 2, there is no better of the two. It really comes down to what you need as a Dragon Ball. When you're going into a Dragon Ball game, what do you need the most? So let me first actually start with the cons of both games. So let's start with Raging Blast 2. The biggest con of Raging Blast 2 is just that it has no story mode. So, if you want a story and anything, you're not getting that Raging Blast 2. Now, with the mod, they made it where the dialogue, because you have dialogue in the base game of Raging Blast 2 between characters that have like actually talked in the story mode, like Goku and Raditz, Kid Gohan and Raditz, like they'll actually have dialogue. But it's hard to trigger it in the base game. In the mod, they make it almost where it's like you get the full dialogue like you're playing a story mode. So you can kind of get something like that, but for the most part, it's just a galaxy mode, a battle zone. Like it's more like an arcade Street Fighter type of game in that sense. It's not a story mode. So you're gonna really want to go with Raging Blast 1 or Tenkaichi 3. For Raging Blast 2, another con for it is the amount of characters. So Raging Blast 2 and Extreme Blast, it doesn't really matter which, have about 45 to 50 characters, if I'm not mistaken. I think Tenkaichi has like 94. I'm not exactly sure how many exactly. It's in the 90s of how many characters Tenkaichi 3 has. And the mod of Tenkaichi 3 has even more, you know what I mean? Because it has every character from Raging Blast plus the characters, from Super and the base characters from Dragon Ball from the base game. So Tenkaichi 2, not Tenkaichi 2, Tenkaichi 3 has more characters. Raging Blast 2 doesn't have as many. Another con for Raging Blast, this is more of like a personal thing, so you may agree, you may disagree. Personally, I actually like the graphics of Raging Blast 2, but some people don't, so we like the graphics more, so depending on how you like the models to look. Personally, I like the realistic take. It really looks good to me. It feels just enough cartoony, but enough realism to make me feel like I'm in Dragon Ball. Um, Now this is the pros. We'll start with the pros of Tenkaichi first. Actually, no, we'll go to the cons of Tenkaichi. Since we gotta talk about the cons. So that's the cons of Raging Blast. This is the cons of Tenkaichi. Tenkaichi, the biggest con of Tenkaichi for me, unlike Raging Blast, is that every character feels the same. Like, yeah, there's characters faster and slower than each, but it's hard to explain. See, like in Raging Blast, the way the signature attacks work, the way the moves, like the moves that like either the strike moves or the key blast moves, I don't know what it is about Raging Blast's gameplay, but when you use, for example, either the extreme blast mod, so you're using like Ultra Instinct Goku, or you're using the regular base game, you're just using regular Goku, he feels different and plays different than a Kid Buu. Tenkaichi doesn't feel that way. You know what I mean? Like you don't, like you're not. It's like you're using literally the same characters, which helps in the sense of like balancing to some degree, because that means you can kind of just cook. You know what I mean? With Raging Blast, I feel like it's a lot more like you can get really good with this character, not know how to use this one. It feels a lot more like Xenoverse to some degree, how like every single character has like different combo strings. Now Raging Blast ain't that deep. Like Xenoverse is when like every single character has different combo strings and different stamina break timings, but with Raging Blast, with Tenkaichi, it just doesn't feel like these characters are unique enough to each other. They all just seem like they have different skins. With Raging Blast, they feel like different characters. My next con for Tenkaichi would be age, would be like, some moves just don't look as good, but also it's not just that, like a lot of characters just have the same move, like Final Power Energy Wave, just the same type of grab. There's a lot of characters in the same that have the same grab. Raging Blast is different. If I'm not mistaken, every character in Raging Blast has a different grab animation. With, you know, Tenkaichi, a lot of them just do that pull-in grab that punches you a whole bunch and then just kicks you away. With Raging Blast, it's either Goku got his, swing move. Now, don't get me wrong, they have some differences with Tenkaichi as well. It's now this is where, to me, this is what really gets me for Tenkaichi, the biggest con. It's just that I feel like it's actually, people claim that Tenkaichi isn't like claiming like it's complex, but it's actually way more simple than you think, and that to the point where it's almost a little bit. I like the complexity in Raging Blast. There's a lot more like the cancels I like to do in Raging Blast feel better. They are way more smooth. Tenkaichi doesn't have it, like isn't as smooth with that. You know what I mean? It's a lot. How do I say? So especially with the Extreme Blast mod being like sped up, like it's smoother. Vanilla base to base, they actually are fairly the same in the sense of how the gameplay goes, but the Extreme Blast mod, very smooth. I also would say with Tenkaichi, I can't really say this is too bad, because I mean, I don't really care about the story mode too much. That's why I like Raging Blast 2, but Tenkaichi 3, I don't, as much as I don't care about the story mode, it's just kind of sucks that there isn't, the cutscenes that are in the game just don't, they're not that good. You know what I mean? They're just kind of regular cutscenes. They're almost just game cutscenes. I feel like kind of like when you go back and you play like Budokai 1, the cinematic cutscenes were just cooler. You know what I mean? And that would just bring me more into the story mode, especially since I don't really care about the story mode. So I'm like, shoot, having some more pool to it would be nice. I'm trying to think of anything else for Tenkaichi. Yeah, no, that's not that much. For both Raging Blast and Tenkaichi, I have the same amount of criticisms really for. Like with Raging Blast. Now, I'm more like this. I'm more mean this for Raging Blast 1, not Raging Blast 2. I feel like with Raging Blast 1, and actually this would be a con for Tenkaichi 3. Tenkaichi 3's camera is pretty bad compared to Raging Blast 2, but Raging Blast 1's camera is ass. That's why I really don't like Raging Blast 1 as a game, because its camera just gets in your way too much. Raging Blast 2 is way better at its camera movement. I don't feel like I get stuck in a rock too much compared to Raging Blast 1 or Tenkaichi 3. Now let's talk about the pros. Let's start with the pros with Tenkaichi 3. Bro, I mean, other than just the nostalgia, but like, even though what I said about, like I said, man, having all those characters, and I especially mean this for the Tenkaichi 4 mod, yeah, man, having all those characters is really dope. Yeah, man, you can get a lot of matches in that you just really can't get in most games. Also, since it's an older game and it's like, it's made in that time period when they were still destroying planets after you did a ultimate move. I mean, that's always going to be cool to look at. You know what I mean? The when you do a comic behind, you hit somebody with it, it destroys the earth. You know what I mean? Depending on, I forgot exactly what triggers the animation, but that happens. Doesn't happen in Raging Blast. Another pro for Tenkaichi would be like just the other modes. So like the survivor mode. They have fairly around the same amount of modes, if I'm not mistaken. I gotta go back and look, but they don't have that many modes, like less or more than each other. But I like the survivor mode more in Tenkaichi 3 than I do like the battle zone mode, for example, of Raging Blast. What else would I would say about Tenkaichi? See, I will say that with Tenkaichi, I think it's see, I was gonna say it's effects, but I'd have to give that to Raging Blast. See, Raging Blast effects, like the way you punch and the sound effects and just the overall, like when you snap and then, like, let's say you like are going towards your opponent, but then like you need to pause all of a sudden, like the little electricity goes around the screen, the like every single punch that you get in Raging Blast feels very strong, and the destructibility is a lot higher. The hitting people on the walls and it stays there, like the crack in the wall stays. You don't have that in Tenkaichi. I could be wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, you can't hit somebody into a wall and keep beating them up like you can in Raging Blast. I was doing that a lot. If you look at my videos, I'd be doing that a lot. And getting it done to me. So that's like my going back and forth between the pros and cons of Raging Blast and Tenkaichi. Now, let's start with let's go more in depth into the mods. See, the mods make this very complicated. This is why I say, like, again, this video, even though this is a comparison between Tenkaichi 3 and Raging Blast 2, objectively, like I said before, there is no better of the two. So if you came to this video and you're like, I know which one, no, there is no better. Because of the fact, depends on what you want. This is really a defense of, because I've been seeing a little bit more hate on Sparking Zero, that like, oh, it's not gonna be the best. No, Sparking Zero will be that game, or it fails honestly as a game. Like it already is proving to me that it's going to be basically the best between both worlds. To speak more about what I like the most about both games, to speak positively about both, it's really just like how true to the series, how energetic and hard even both games are, especially the mod of Raging Blast 2. You can, I mean, for the most part, you can make some combinations that are damn near impossible. I will say for the Tenkaichi 4 mod, as much as it's hard and the Z mode is hard, it really ain't, because it's predictable. It just input reads you, meaning there's just some things you just can't do. It's always going to just attack you. But then it's like there's some things that the CPU is always going to do that you're always going to be able to counter. Raging Blast, especially, now I mean this mainly for the mod, the base game of Raging Blast, depending, now I will say, if you, like, most people aren't just going to be able to just play Raging Blast and win, but if you play Dragon Ball games, especially Tenkaichi before, you're going to be able to hop in Raging Blast, turn on damn near very hard, put max computer on, probably even put on 4 bars in health, and you have a little challenge, but it ain't going to be too bad. Now, the Extreme Blast mod is different, bro. They made the CPUs very hard, then you put max computer on, then you put all the stats on, and then they took off the limit of amount of points that you can put for each character, meaning you can put pretty much all the stats that you want. That it depends on how many slots there are, but you can put as many stuff that you want. Yeah, makes the characters kind of overpowered to the point where you're not winning those matches without having to use an upgraded character. Um, so it's like, Tenkaichi 3 for me would really just be, especially that mod. That mod would be just the music, bro. Tenkaichi 4, shout out to Team BT4. That music is awesome. They have every single soundtrack from every single game is awesome. You really, I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you, like you really can't even beat that. And then the amount of stages. One thing I is kind of disappointing about the Extreme Blast mod is that there's just not that many stages. I was kind of hoping for maybe more stages or definitely more music, but with the stages in Togechi 4, man, in the mod is amazing. You have like the Grand Zeno stage, you have the stage with Champa them fought because you have the Tournament of Power, and a few other stages that are just not usually in the game. Um, to give more defense for Raging Blast 2, because a lot of people hate on Raging Blast 2. Forget Syriax. Tell Syriax that he will see me in Sparking Zero. He will see me for the slander that he's gave to Raging Blast 2. He will have to see me. Because Raging Blast 2 is a very, very good game if you just like to fight. If you just like to fight and you are just trying to, and especially now, I do mean this again, because I feel like the vanilla versions of both games get overshadowed by the modded version of the games of the respective games. Like the Extreme Blast mod is better than the vanilla version of Raging Blast 2. The Tenkaichi 4 mod is way better than the vanilla version of Tenkaichi 3. So it's like, with I definitely am. I'm mostly saying that like the those versions of those games is kind of what I'm talking about, and it's like Tenkaichi 4. It's a great it's great experience. Same with the Extreme Blast mod. They go hand in hand. You know what I mean? They kind of they complement the strengths, they complement the weaknesses. There isn't an objectivity to both games, but with Raging Blast 2, with that Extreme Blast mod, the difficulty is way higher, and that's what kind of people talk about. With Raging Blast, that is just not as hard as when I was watching like Syriax. He was like, "Oh, it's not as difficult." Yeah, he wasn't playing the Extreme Blast mod though, if I'm not mistaken. He was just playing base Tenkaichi. Base Raging Blast, and base Raging Blast ain't that difficult. You know what I mean? But that that Raging Blast Extreme mod, yeah, bro. Like you try to use not one character. Try to use all regular characters with no stats in them, and put man, nah, bro. That whole gauntlet is crazy. So and then on top of that, I gotta be honest. For me with Raging Blast is just the movement. It's smoother. The Extreme Blast makes it faster, which that now makes it fast. It makes it faster. The gameplay is faster than. It also might just be my PC, to be fair, but it's faster than Tenkaichi 3. The Tenkaichi 4 mod. Like I really like how fast all of that feels. And yeah, man, it gets to a point where I really feel like I'm in the anime when I be playing Raging Blast. Same with Tenkaichi 3 as well. The problem with Tenkaichi 3 is just that like, because the difficulty in the Tenkaichi 4 mod feels so cheap, and then you have to be cheap to win, doesn't feel as good. See, the Raging Blast Stream mod is harder when it comes to like its difficulty, especially if you add all those things. And I'd almost say it's damn near impossible, but it doesn't feel that way because it doesn't feel like you're just getting cheated. They're not input reading you; they just kicking your ass. With Tenkaichi 4 mod, it almost feels like they're input reading you, but then they do the same type of like come up to you, run up to you, and try to hit you all the time. You know what I mean? They without fail will run up to you all the time. If you just stand in one place, keep key, and make sure you charge key, have enough key, you literally would be able to just spam them with move instantly. There is no for them to get out of it. Raging Blast 2 is not like that. They will block, they will counter. Bro, I've had freaking CPUs like counter my counter. Like it's stupid. You know what I mean? Like, and I've had that happen in Tenkaichi 3, Tenkaichi 4 mods as well, but it feels like it's, like I said, it's input reading, and then like I said, if I just stand back and wait, he gonna get blasted each time. Now, I will say that the Raging Blast stream mod is that they are less likely to dodge or block a Kamehameha from a long range, especially if you kick them away. it's a lot less likely that they'll get out of that, but they still have and they still will. And a lot of times, since you added healing and all these other types of moves and they take less damage, it's like it don't even matter if they get hit by it. So that's just this core gameplay. As I've been playing both games, it's just like, and then all like I said, when I use Future Gohan and then when I use Ultimate Gohan and Raging Blast, both vanilla or even the Extreme Blast mod, they just feel like different characters. They don't feel like the exact same character. And that's like for why I love Raging Blast 2 more. But just having all of those characters, that's why I have both games, because like having all those characters in Tenkaichi 4's mod is amazing. And that's why I like bringing it all back. Sparking Zero will be the best. It just, so far as I'm seeing and how I feel like this game, since it will have an online scene, a lot of those characters look like they play completely different from one another, so where you can really make a main with Ultimate Gohan or Super Vegito, he's freaking cracked. You know what I mean? Like, you can really just like get honed in and then having the what if story. Like, Sparking Zero will be the best. I almost can put money on it. It would be better than Raging Blast 2, the Stream Blast mod, the Tenkaichi 4, the Tenkaichi 3. It will be the best. And that's where I'll leave it at. You know what I mean? Like I said, this is for you to choose. You know what I mean? What game you really think is better between Raging Blast 2 and Tenkaichi 3? This is just my opinion. Personally, like I said, I do not think that objectively you can really say that Tenkaichi 3 or Raging Blast 2 is overall better game. I think they both, especially their mods. I'm really talking about their mods. I ain't gonna lie to you. I wouldn't even touch both of those games if they didn't have mods. I honestly would be playing Xenoverse. But like Tenkaichi 3 but if I had to choose, for me it'd be Raging Blast, because just like I love the movement and just how the game feels. But Tenkaichi 3 is a very, very good game. Deserve all the praises that it's got. But do not sleep on that Raging Blast 2. If you guys ever want to fight me in Raging Blast 2, please hit me up. I don't know how to do it exactly other than using Parsec. But other than Parsec, if you got other methods, please, hit me up with it. But other than that, enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your Saturday, whenever you guys are seeing this video. And yeah, like I said, I hope I didn't disappoint. Like I said, objectively, both of those games are the best, and Sparking Zero should and will be the best of the series, 100%. Well, this is your boy Omni. Stay safe.